Yusha Evans is a former Christian youth pastor who, as a youth pastor, you would expect him to know about Christianity, to know about the doctrine of the Trinity, to know about what Christianity teaches on the deity of Christ and the Incarnation. And last month, we went through, it took us 4 entire episodes to scratch the surface of the errors in this one presentation that he gave, his top 10 reasons that Jesus is not God. We went through every one of his claims and showed how Yusha doesn't know a lot about Christianity. And I don't mean that he was disagreeing with us on certain points. He seemed to have no clue what Christianity even teaches on certain doctrines. On the Trinity, he didn't know what the Trinity was. He didn't know what he knew that it has something to do with threeness and oneness, but beyond that, he did not know what the doctrine of the Trinity is. And this is a guy who's representing himself as some kind of expert in Christianity because he was a youth pastor. Well, Yusha put out a nice little tweet, and that tweet is going to be the topic. And here, once again, it will probably take this whole episode to go through the errors. But he sent out a message titled Christianity in a Nutshell. Can we get that up on the screen? So we have this message, Christianity in a nutshell. Let's go ahead and read it, and we'll put it back up on the screen a couple times during the program because we're going to go through this and see, is this really Christianity in a nutshell? And then we'll also, as we go along, we'll decide how this compares with Islam in a nutshell. So the tweet says this. So this is from Yusha Evans, former youth pastor who is paid to go around the world speaking. And he says, it's like this. I created man and woman with original sin. So this is supposed to be God, the Christian God, speaking and explaining Christianity. So the Christian God says this. This is the message of Christianity according to Yusha Evans. It's like this. I created man and woman with original sin. So according to Yusha, we believe that God created human beings with original sin. Then I destroyed most of them for sinning. So this is the flood, of course. God killed most people for sinning. Then I impregnated a woman with myself as her child so that I could be born. Later, I will kill myself as a sacrifice to myself to save all of you from the sin I gave you in the first place. And you can see 40 retweets, 36 favorites, lots of Muslims like this message by Yusha Evans, Christianity in a nutshell. All right. So, what's wrong with this tweet? Anthony, we still have you?
Yes, I'm here.
Is this what you believe as a Christian?
Gosh, I looked at this quote over and over again, and I had trouble finding much to agree with at all. And I hardly know where to start, but maybe...
But before we go into specifics, do you know any Christian who believes this, who would take this statement as what Christianity teaches?
Well, no Orthodox Christian. Maybe you'll find some Manichaeans or something along those lines, but not any Christians.
CL, is this the Christianity you believe in?
No. And first of all, doesn't this seem very blasphemous and disrespectful to God, to Allah? Since Allah and the Christian God are supposed to be the same God, right?
Yeah, he's mocking our message by putting these words supposedly in God's mouth. Wow, this is earlier at the beginning of the show, I pointed out that if you want to continue believing in Islam, you want Islam to compare well against Christianity, to look good by comparison, you have to do some misrepresenting. And there are only 2 possibilities here. We'll come back to this several times during this program. There are only 2 possibilities. If you are this off when you talk about Christianity, either you are completely ignorant of what Christianity teaches, you really have no clue, or you are deliberately deceptive. Brother Anthony, on this issue of original sin, could you explain what original sin is for us?
Okay, well, original sin is the recognition that when God created man, he entered into a covenant with him. That is, Adam God condescended and entered into a relationship with him that had certain terms and conditions. And in this covenantal arrangement, God promised certain things to Adam, and he also threatened certain things if Adam, didn't live up to the terms of this arrangement. And by the way, just because the word covenant's not used there doesn't mean that we don't have here a bona fide covenant. All the elements for a covenant are there. And Hosea 6, verse 7 explicitly says that God made a covenant with Adam. So just like we see in other ancient Near Eastern covenants, so here, God has these stipulations, these conditions, and again, as in these other covenants, when God enters into this covenant with him, he's entering into it with him, but not only for him, but for his posterity. So that Adam is here acting as a representative. That is, he's not just the biological root or progenitor of the human race, but he's actually the federal head or representative, like we might have in politics, where we elect people to represent us, and then their actions have repercussions for us, right? If our country goes to war, that has repercussions for us. So accordingly, God created Adam, and he entered into this covenant with him, and when Adam sinned, that had consequences for all of us. And for the life of me, I don't know how a Muslim can ridicule this, because I think they have the same thing in Islam. I won't go there just yet, but when Adam sinned, his actions had an effect on the rest of mankind. But it's important to say that when God made Adam, he made him upright. He put him in the best of conditions. He put him in a garden paradise. And he blessed him and told him to be fruitful. So when Yusha Evans says that God created man with original sin, that's a bold-faced lie. He doesn't get that from Genesis. He doesn't get that from any other passage all the way through to the last verse in the book of Revelation.
So just the sort of the entire basis of his tweet here of what Christianity in a nutshell is, the doctrine of original sin is not, has never been, never will be, that God created man with sin, gave man sin.
Mm-hmm. Right. In fact, well, first of all, it stands to reason when it says that God created man in his own image, that he's not creating man sinful. The very presupposition of the verse is that man is being created righteous and holy. Furthermore, the verse concludes in 131, it says that God beheld all that he had made and said, "Behold, it is very good." So God created him righteous. Ecclesiastes 7:29 says that God made man upright, but man sought out many devices. So it wasn't something created into man or anything like that. Man was created perfect, not in the sense that he couldn't willfully choose to sin. That, part of the perfection in which God created man was that he had a will, but he didn't create that will inclined towards evil or as actually evil. He was created good, and he gave man a choice.
Mm-hmm. So, and I'm trying to think of how he could. I'm trying to think the best of Yusha, but again, if the only alternatives are ignorance and deception, I would think that ignorance is the better of the two, right? You'd rather be ignorant of something than a deliberate deceiver, right?
Well, for someone who's called a sheikh.
Yeah, yeah, he's Sheikh Yusha now. It's this is wild stuff. These are the people who become scholarly authorities in Islam, but. I'm trying to figure out how he could be this ignorant about the doctrine of the original sin, because it's not complicated. Anthony just explained it, and I mean he said it in a nutshell, as Yusha would point out. He explained it for a couple of minutes, but the main idea you can explain in a few seconds. And it seems that Yusha hears original sin and knows it has something to do with Adam, and then concludes, well, this is God making Adam with sin. And I mean, this is theology. This isn't even the 101 level. This is before. This is like the kindergarten level of Christian doctrine, of what original sin. There is an original sin. There's the first sin, and then it's the relationship of that sin to the rest of us, that it is connected to the rest of us. It affects all of us, right? I mean, and that's as Anthony pointed out, and as we'll show on this program. Islam teaches that version of original sin. Islam teaches that Adam's sin affected all of us. Just to give people an idea here, just before we even dig down into how it really affected people according to Islam, on a simple level, where's Adam created according to Islam?
He was created in Jannah.
He's created
paradise.
in Jannah. So why was he put here on earth?
I've asked Muslims that numerous times. The answer I get is, well, after he sinned and he was kicked out and sent down to heaven, that's the majority view, that he was sent down to earth. There are some scholars who actually said that he was on earth originally, the paradise was on earth. But they say that he was put out because Allah planned already to put him onto the world and out of the Jannah. It had nothing to do with him sinning.
I would have to go with the majority view, and let me go ahead and read a Quran passage here, because again, this is the simple response to that. Chapter 2 of the Quran, verses 35 to 38. Chapter 2, verses 35 to 38. And we said, this is Allah speaking, and we said, O Adam, dwell you and your wife in the garden, and eat from it a plenteous food, wherever you wish, and do not approach this tree, for then you will be of the unjust. But Satan made them both fall from it, and caused them to depart from that state in which they were. And we said, get forth, some of you being the enemies of others. And there is for you in the earth, an abode and a provision for a time. Then Adam received some words from his Lord, so he turned to him mercifully. Surely he is oft returning to mercy and merciful. We said, go forth from this state, all, so surely there will come to you a guidance from me. Then whoever follows my guidance, no fear shall come upon them, nor shall they grieve. Here's where you are, Adam. You're living in this state of bliss, but you sinned because you were deceived by Satan, and now I'm kicking you out, and you're going to live in the world.
Yes, one preceded and one action followed directly.
Where are we born, CL?
We were born on Earth.
Where are babies born?
On planet Earth.
So, Adam sinned, and his punishment was to live here on the earth.
Yes.
And this is where babies who are born in original innocence are born, right?
Yes. Yeah.
According to Yusha Evans.
Yeah.
Now, you see the problem here?
Yeah.
Babies are innocent. They shouldn't be born in the place of this earth. The only reason babies are born in this world where you don't have the heavenly bliss, you have, sufferings and problems and so on, is not because of their sin, because according to Yusha, they're sinless. They have no original sin. Well, why are they here? Because of Adam's sin?
Yeah.
We're all here because of Adam's sin, according to the Quran, ladies and gentlemen. How can you say Adam's sin didn't affect the rest of us? Anthony, I really want to show that there is a religion out there that actually does teach that human beings have original sin in the sense that Yusha says, where God created them to sin. I want to show that. I want to show there is a religion to teach that. I want to know if you had anything else on the point of original sin to share before I go into that.
Yeah, just to highlight one thing. Notice that he's complaining because according to him, he thinks that we say that God is punishing people for the sin of Adam. So Adam's sin is imputed to them, and he doesn't like that concept. But notice that on his view, people are being punished for a sin that's not imputed to them. So in other words, as you said, babies are born innocent, and they're being punished then for a sin that they're innocent for. We're saying that we suffer the consequences of Adam's sin, that there's a relationship there between us and Adam that justifies us being held accountable, namely because he's our federal head and representative by virtue of the covenant God made. But there is no covenant there in Islam. Men and women are simply righteous. And yet Allah is punishing them then for being righteous? I mean, I don't see how that is something better than the misrepresentation that he's laid at our doorstep.
Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely correct. I mean, those of you out there, just think about what Anthony just said. Babies are born, and they don't always have good, comfortable lives. Some of them are born with diseases. Some of them don't survive. Some of them die before they're even born. Why? Because they're born in this world where there is suffering. We're not in a heavenly bliss now. According to Islam, why are those babies suffering? Because of Adam. But wait a minute, I thought Adam's sin I thought this didn't go to the babies, right? I thought they were born in innocence. They haven't sinned yet, right? So why are they're suffering because of Adam's sin? Do you see how if you really don't think about this stuff, you end up blurting out things like Yusha Evans says, and then you're actually mocking your own religion and you don't know it because you haven't studied it and you haven't thought about it?
Well, I was going to say your point. They're born into a world that's imperfect and sinful, right? How did that happen? Surah 30 and 41 says, because of the sins of men, al-fasad, corruption, sin, has entered into the world.
Yep.
And there's a commentary I saw online about that particular verse over on MuslimMatters.org. And a female scholar, she said that the effects of sin, evil upon the land and sea, Allah Ta'ala says al-fasad has become apparent. Al-fasad means an imbalance, and its opposite is islah, reformation. Fasad is when something decays, spoils. It is not as it should be. There are two types of al-fasad: tangible evil such as famine, drought, wars, and tangible evil as in doing shirk and other sins. So how does Yusha get out of this predicament? Because he's telling us that we're wrong. He's telling the people he gives dawah to that we're wrong because we say that Adam committed a sin and Allah put Adam's sin on everyone and everyone got affected. Come over to Islam where you're born sinless. You don't have all this original sin jive. How does he get out of this predicament?
Yeah, and it's sad because, I mean, Muslims have invented a version of Islam that's been made to appeal to people, and it has almost nothing to do with what's in their sources. And let me give you the example that I find most interesting, given what Yusha says. He says God created us with original sin. We've shown that's not what Christianity teaches. That's not what any Christian believes. And so him representing this as official Christian doctrine is either based on ignorance or deception. But as I pointed out, there is a religion that does teach that God created Adam with the sin. He made Adam to sin. Did you know that, CL? Did you know there's a religion that teaches that?
What is that, Buddhism or?
It's Islam. You know that. Let me go ahead and read two passages. It's basically the same teaching, but I'll read it in Sahih al-Bukhari and I'll read it in Sahih Muslim because those are Islam's two most trusted sources of ahadith. Sahih al-Bukhari, number 6614. Narrated Abu Huraira, the Prophet said, Adam and Moses argued with each other. Moses said to Adam, "O Adam, you are our father who disappointed us and turned us out of paradise." Notice what Moses is saying. He's saying exactly what we all just said right here. Because of Adam, we're not in paradise right now. We're not in paradise because of Adam. Adam sinned, that put him in the world, and we all suffer the consequences of that, even though, according to Yusha Evans, there's no connection between what Adam does and what the rest of us do. Moses, my friends, Moses just told Yusha Evans he has no clue what he's talking about, because Moses says to Adam, Adam, you're the reason we're not in paradise. Watch what he says. Then Adam said to him, "O Moses, Allah favored you with his talk," and that means he talked to Moses directly, "and he wrote the Torah for you with his own hand. Do you blame me for an action which Allah had preordained for me 40 years before my creation?" So Adam confuted Moses. Now think about that. Let me read that last part. Again, Moses says to Adam, "Adam, you're the reason we're not in paradise. You're the reason for all this suffering. You're the reason all of this has happened to us. Your original sin is what caused all of this suffering, Adam." And Adam's response to Moses is, "Do you blame me for an action which Allah had preordained for me 40 years before my creation?" And Muhammad says, Adam refuted Moses. Now think about this. What was Adam's defense of his own action? Don't blame me. Allah preordained me to do that. Allah preordained me to do that. Why did Adam sin? Because Allah preordained him before he was ever born to do that. Can you escape the will of Allah?
No, Allah wrote everything that would take place before he even created the first molecule or atom.
And here, this isn't simply foreknowledge we're talking about. We're not talking about foreknowledge. God knew that I was going to sin. Adam says, Allah preordained me to sin. Why are you blaming me? In other words, he's saying, take the blame off me. If you don't like the sin, blame Allah. He said I was going to do this. He ordained that I was going to do this 40 years before I was born. I wasn't even born yet. Allah had already declared that I'm going to do this. Again, he can't just be saying Allah knew that I was going to do it, because he's using this to absolve himself of blame. He's saying, quit blaming me. It's not my fault. So what is Adam doing? According to Muhammad, he's putting the blame on Allah for making him to be a sinner. That's what Islam teaches. But wait a minute. Isn't that what Yusha Evans mocked Christianity for teaching?
Well, maybe the first part of his quote where he put words into God's mouth with his God, maybe it was true. Maybe he was really just saying what he believes Allah actually did.
Absolutely. Well, we have to take a break. Let me go ahead and read the other version, just so people don't think that this happened to be a bad translation of Sahih al-Bukhari for some reason. Sahih Muslim, and there are several versions of it in Sahih Muslim. I'll read Sahih Muslim number 6410. Abu Huraira reported Allah's messenger as saying, there was an argument between Adam and Moses, and Adam got the better of Moses. Notice, who wins the argument? Adam got the better of him. Moses said to him, you are the same Adam who misled people and caused them to get out of paradise. This is Moses talking to Adam. Moses, you misled people. You caused us to get out of paradise. Adam said, you are the same Moses whom Allah endowed with knowledge of everything and selected him amongst the people as his messenger. Moses said, yes. Adam then said again, even then you blame me for an affair which had been ordained for me before I was created. Moses, you're so knowledgeable, and yet you're blaming me for something that was ordained before I was even created? Is there a religion that teaches that God created people to sin, CL?
Well, I guess it's Islam.
Undoubtedly. And Yusha mocks Christianity for teaching something that Christianity has never taught, and even worse, it's something that Islam does teach, but Yusha doesn't know enough about Christianity to know that's not what we teach, and doesn't know enough about Islam to know that's what Islam does teach. Welcome to the wild and wonderful world of Islamic apologetics.